Have you ever felt like your thoughts are running the show, pulling you into a spiral of doubt, anxiety, or even fear? How often do you ask yourself, am I really this way? Or is it just how I feel right now? Let's explore how this distinction could change your life. Today, we are diving into a powerful concept, being versus feeling. Our thoughts are incredibly influential. They can shape how we see ourselves and the world around us, but sometimes those thoughts can work against us, leading to stress and self-doubt. In this video, we'll uncover how negative thought patterns can impact your well-being and share tools to break free. Stick around because this might just be the mindset shift you need.
Okay. Well, hello, warriors. How we doing today? How's everybody doing and how's everything going? So, question of the day. It's for you two. How many emotions do you think we have or we experience? We can experience.
That's a good one. I don't have the foggiest idea about this.
Okay, so based on the little research that I've done, they say that's 27 emotions that you can feel. And that's not taking into account double dipping, meaning that there's some emotions that are closely related and you may be able to flux between those two things or those emotions. So they're close enough where you can kind of be in one and then immediately be in the other if the emotions are relatable. So it's a very interesting concept. And so that's why today's topic is we're going to talk about feeling versus versus being. And we're gonna try to get to a point to see what truly defines us and where that sits in the day-to-day struggle.
Interesting. Yeah, let's uncover the truth together.
Let's get her done, as they say in Texas. Let's get her done. Okay.
Rolling.
The rules of engagement. Yeah, move dirt production. You better be a part of it. We gon' talk about it. Check it.
27 emotions. That seems like that's a whole lot of feeling in a day. That's a whole lot of feeling that a person can experience.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing is how we feel. Oh, let me change the question. Do you think the way we feel or the way our point of view dictates how we navigate through the world?
That's an interesting point. And I think so. I think that sometimes we can misunderstand ourselves because we feel an emotion right now and then the opposite 1 second later. Okay, so that misunderstanding sometimes could lead us to a place in which we don't want to stay. So and I think that is key. I mean, to get to know the difference between being and feel. Okay, so
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. And I think the because I think everybody's been there before. Everybody's like, the problem I would guess is you get caught up in all of these emotions and all of these things, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think experiencing emotions or feeling things is a bad thing. I think it's a necessary thing in life. I think it allows us ex to get to the other side of expression.
mhm.
I don't know if you understand what I mean when I say that. What I mean by to get to the other side of expression, because I think there's a plethora of ways we can express ourselves, and I think there are steps that you have to go through, and you have to cross or touch all of the emotions at some point in your life to get to a point of true understanding. That's what I believe. I don't know if you feel the same.
That's an interesting point. I've never thought about this way. But what comes to my mind is that, for example, if we don't know the difference between being and feel, I mean, do I have to be the being that is feeling this emotion right now? I don't know whether made myself clear enough. Okay, so because for example, sometimes you get angry and then you're mad at somebody. Is that person the real version of you, or it is just a momentary version of you, of yourself? So how have you ever felt like that? Have you ever gone through a moment like this one in which you behave different with a person because you were mad at that person and you didn't know how to solve that situation?
I would say yes. So, but if I continue, I just want to make sure that I clearly understand you. So you're saying that what you do is when you're feeling something is like a snapshot of the moment.
Hmm.
Then I would definitely say yes, and I would also say that that leads to a lot of confusion for most people because they take that snapshot and they internalize it, and that feeling now becomes who they think they are. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, I do, because that is not the real person. I mean, I got caught in those moments in which you are arguing with somebody else because your ego was touched, and then you were defending yourself. The other person were doing the same, and then none of us came to terms. Okay. And then it led every one of us, that moment led us to a point in which at that moment we didn't like each other. I mean, for example, I'm talking about something that happened with me and my wife. Okay, so which is normal. We had some arguments and so on. Okay, so at that very moment we went those people. Okay, so we were arguing, and because we misunderstood what we felt, and we didn't set the correct frame in which we can separate our feelings from our true self.
Mm-hmm.
So that led us to confusion. And also at that moment we made bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Later on it gave me a feeling of a bitter feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that because, of course, if you've been in a relationship with any other person, there's going to be moments where there are some type of dis- uh, disagreements and even arguments. And I agree with you because in that moment you might say things, and I would say you go through whatever steps you go through, whether it's right or wrong. It's where you are at that moment, and I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to go through the steps. But I think the problem is that you say everything that you say, but you still internalize it afterwards. So you don't say, okay, I said that. I said what I meant in the moment with all the tools that I had, but it doesn't change how I feel about how I overall feel about you. And I'm not going to internalize that so that it changes how I feel about you tomorrow or in the next few minutes. And in my opinion, I think what people tend to do, they they walk with the argument 2 days later, 3 days later, 4, 5, or 6 days later. So they're still walking with it. And in my opinion, I believe that if you walk with something long enough, it becomes a habit. And now that what should have just been a snapshot of a moment now becomes a mural in your house. And you've gone from the snapshot being the feeling to the mural being who you believe you are and who you are being with that person. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I agree. Everything that you practice for more than 21 days, okay, becomes a habit. And if you don't realize what you're doing, that habit will fossilize in yourself. Okay. So it'll become a part of you. So, but I discovered a very good tool to overcome this issue. And it was this. At that very moment, I pause for a moment. I mean, for a second in my inner self, okay, in my mind. And then I go like, is this really me? Or is this an emotion I'm feeling because of whatever? Okay. It could be because of my ego. It could be because of something that I have in my backpack and something that happened a long time ago and I still have it here. And that is related to what you said. Okay. Something that happened to you and that person you're talking to, and you still have it here. Even if you think that you have forgotten this, you have to be clear enough to get to know whether you still have it in your backpack. So that is key. Pause for a moment. Think about this. Is this one myself, or is this the emotion I'm feeling? That is my key. And it was a turning point in my life. I swear. How about you? Do you have any tools to use?
Yes, I think it's kind of. I mean, because you mentioned your wife, so any the relationship that I have with my wife is I tend to, and it might sound crude at the beginning because uh, until I explain it, I treat my relationship with my wife like a business. Why do I say that? Not to go off topic, but there's a reason why I'm saying it like I'm saying it, because the tool is important. Because in business with people, you can have disagreements, but it doesn't negate that there are still duties that have to be fulfilled. Important way to kind of keep things in their perspective. Because yes, me and my wife, we can have a disagreement about an issue, but that issue doesn't mean that the business should be shut down. What it does mean is that there may be something within the business that needs improvement, but it doesn't mean that because of this issue, which may be small, that we should go out of business. And that's why I say I tend to treat my relationship with her like a business, because I understand there are issues. Sometimes in the moment you think it's the worst thing in the world. But in reality, you have to say, after you've gone through whatever, you've gone through the discussions or the argument, you get back to what's fundamentally important. And that is to keep the business going, to keep each person or to keep what is important to the business going. And that has always helped me not take things too personal. So if something happened in the moment, I'm always still able to sit back and go, I was angry at her in that moment, but I'm not an angry person when it comes to her. And I think for me, that's the difference. Because I can feel angry at her, but not be angry at her. And so I think it's pretty much the same thing that you do. It's just a different way of saying it. And I think that's the key. It's such a subtle difference, but I think it's an important difference that you can feel angry with what has occurred, but not be angry, because being takes up a lot more time. Whereas with 27 feelings, they can come and go, but being is more of a state. And I think that's where the wisdom is. You can have an argument, hey, da, 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 and sometimes it can be really heated. But at the end of that, you go, okay, say what I had to say. You say what you had to say. Let's go eat. Because there's a business part of that that says, irregardless of the issue, the business is more important. So that's the tool that I use, which is pretty much the same way that you it's pretty much what you said. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, and then and you touched something really important, I think, which is the key of this topic, and it is the difference between feeling and being. As you said, feeling is a state, is not permanent, and being is your core identity.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
So sometimes if you went to a workmate of yours and asked him or asked them, okay, what do you think about that person? That person, I mean, your workmate, would give you their idea of that person according to the behavior that person portrays in front of that person. But what if you went to that person's house, to your workmate's house, and you asked the same to their partner? Would it be the same answer?
Probably not.
Because we change our behavior depending on the situation. And then we are not, as you said, we have to deal with how many? 27?
27.
And that's tough. That is tough. We have to deal with them, and then we have to play our role in every moment. It is not the same to speak to your wife as to speak to your boss or to speak to your son. So, according to that, I think you nailed it. The difference between feel and just be.
I definitely agree. So I believe that because I know we're all ironically human beings, and it's difficult to intake things. Well, it's great to hear things, but it's very, very difficult to internalize things. So what I would say to our heroes and our viewers is just remember that if you had to juggle 27 balls at one time, somebody's gonna get tired. I don't know who, but at some point, somebody's going to be tired. As opposed to holding one ball in your hand. And that is truly, in my opinion, the difference. When you're being something, you're holding one ball in your hand and you're focused on that ball. As opposed to when you're feeling, you're just juggling a lot of stuff that have more to do with your point of view than maybe what actually happened. So I think, yeah, that's for me, I think that would be probably the best way that the best advice I could give somebody who's struggling with the situation. Do a little bit of breathing and just remember that you're going to feel more, and it's not there's there's nothing inherently wrong about going through the process because you can't get from you can't go from sad to happiness in a sneeze. It's not possible. There's steps that you have to take unless you're very, very enlightened. So you go through your whatever your process is, and maybe you're a little bit sad. Then you get a little bit frustrated. Then you're angry. And then after angry, you get to a little bit of okay, a little bit of understanding. Then maybe you might step into, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe being a little more optimistic, then being a little grateful. And then eventually you get to your real state. Or as you say, and I love the way you put it, you get to the core of who you are. So I'm not saying I don't want people to feel that they can't go through their process because the process is absolutely necessary. But having said that, remember that if you don't internalize the feeling, it can never become your being.
And you should be the one steering the wheel. So D, to wrap it up, feelings are emotional responses And yeah, being is your core identity. Okay. So, and I believe, I do believe that we have given our heroes two very powerful tools. I mean, pause for 5 seconds and just think about your emotion, the emotion you're feeling at that very moment, and treat your relationships as if you were running a business. Yeah. Now it's our heroes' turn. Heroes, have you ever found yourself in these situations in which you have to, deal with these emotional responses, and then um,
I think that's important because it's also that's just the way that you and I have found to cope with with our way of doing it. But if you have a different way, then put it in the comments and let us know, because the thing about is growth is better with a community.
yeah,
And there are people out there that have some ideas that I may just never think of because I don't know why I don't think of it, but I just may not be attracted to that thing. And if you can bring an idea that I go, wow, that's amazing, then I would definitely do my best to assimilate it. So when we say, if you have an idea, put it in the comment and let us know, is not is not lip service. It's because we genuinely want a better way. Because at the end of the day, the result is that if I can use it and it makes me better, then bring it on, baby.
yeah, yeah. We are creating a healthy and good community. So just put your ideas down below in the comments and let us know what you think about that. And as you said, give us some ideas about how to cope with this.
So on that bombshell, we'll catch you on the next one. It's been an absolute pleasure.
See you right here.
See you.
The rules of engagement. Yeah, move dirt production. You better be a part of it. We gon' talk about it. Check it.